Quinn Rethiker with Rider Magazine. First of all, I'd just like to thank Suzuki for having us out here. What an amazing 2 days. Really, really fun. So this is the DR-Z4SM. So the Suzuki DR-400, they really sat down and said, okay, well, for those people that want a canyon carver, kind of a, I don't want to call it a hooligan bike, but something that can rip canyons and you can actually take it and go to a supermoto track, here's your weapon of choice. I just spent 2 days, one on the street, one on the track. So I just want to tell you a couple little things, takeaways. I'm not going to give you specs, you can read about that stuff. But my first thing when I hopped on this bike that I noticed was it was pretty softly sprung. I do supermoto for fun on the side. I have a dedicated supermoto bike. It's very, very stiff. So when I first got on this, I was like, man, it might be undersprung. And that was kind of my initial thinking. But as I started hammering the brakes in the canyons and really pushing, the suspension stroke got much, much, much firmer, which was really surprising. So it was plush and comfortable, but then also when you really were like, all right, I'm gonna push this thing a little bit, it said, okay, let's go. And it got firmer, which was nice. Because the reality is, this is a street legal platform, bottom line, right? So if you made this so stiff that it was a rock star on the track, you're gonna hate it and your feelings are gonna come out. So supermoto, I'm thinking, okay, well, what are the main things that they're gonna need? Stiffer suspension, check, it works great, both on track, and not to mention, it's completely adjustable, okay? I went up a few clicks on the compression damping on the shock and on the forks, no issues at all. So it still felt pretty plush and nice, but it was a little bit better on the track, so that was great. The other thing I'm thinking is, well, they better have a powerful front brake. Well, it's got a nice, big, fat rotor on it, which is fantastic. So if you are a fan of the DR-Z and you're thinking, man, I want to take this thing through canyons, guess what? You're going to need to do all those things. Suzuki did it for you. Nice fat wheels. The horsepower on this bike, if I can recall, is somewhere in the mid-higher 30s. And again, initial thought when I'm hearing this in the briefing, I'm thinking, well, that's not going to be all that inspiring, right? I need lots of horsepower. Well, guess what? This thing will go over 90 miles an hour, I'm pretty sure, and runs very, very well at speed. Now, what's it like on the freeway? I'm assuming it's going to be really, really buzzy. That's my first thought. Well, actually, what's really cool, just little things I just want to mention because I noticed them when I was really playing around with this bike. So the foot pegs. You usually, with a street legal or dirt bike, you have one of two things. If it's a dirt bike, it's got big steel pegs and you got lots of traction. If it's a street bike, you have that vibration isolation rubber. And so they're not great really for the street or the dirt, one or the other. This has beefy metal pegs on the outer side and nice rubber isolations on the inside. So what I noticed was, hey, when I really push on my feet, and push the outside peg, whatever I want to do with my feet from a I need grip, it gave it to me. But then on the freeway, when I'm just kind of resting there, droning along, I didn't have a lot of vibration in my feet. I didn't notice a lot of tingling in my hands either. That's at, you know, freeway speeds, and we're in Southern California, we're talking about 80 miles an hour. So I really liked that. I was sort of surprised. I expected it to be pretty buzzy, and it's geared where it goes pretty good on the street as far as being comfortable going freeway speeds. But then I'm thinking again, oh, well, we're gonna go to the track. It's just gonna be over geared where it's not gonna pull. No, it pulled just fine. Oh, and by the way, it does great wheelies. Now we did that on the track, okay? So that was all legal and above board. But the brakes were strong when we got to the track. The power was fantastic. I could loft the front end. Like I said, I do supermoto on the side for fun. I didn't need a more powerful motorcycle. I could drop this thing in at a lot of speed, trailing in, really hammering the brakes. Let's just talk about the seat really quick. So what do I need for supermoto? I want a firm seat. I'm gonna be moving around on it. That's great. Now I'm gonna be out on the street. It's gonna be miserable on the street. Well, no. Why? Because once we were on the freeway rolling, I just moved my butt back a little bit, and guess what? Yes, the seat is still firm, but it gets wider and wider, and now it's much more cushy and much more comfortable because I have twice the seat width toward the back. So for me, I didn't have any issues with the seat being firm. I wouldn't think, nah, I'm gonna have to change the seat out. And I'm 6'2", I have pretty long legs. I didn't struggle at all being comfortable from an ergonomic standpoint. What else? The display on this bike. So there are not a tremendous amount of electronic doodads for you to kind of get lost in, which was nice. Yes, they gave us a briefing on that stuff, but it's pretty intuitive. So I started playing around with there. I could mess around with the the engine mapping, how much power it gives me on initial snap. I could mess around with the traction control. You could really mess around with ABS and really everything else. Ultimately, you can effectively shut everything off except front ABS. So, you know, and really, why getting into a full front wheel lock skid is not always a great idea. This bike is sort of saying, hey, let's not do that. So, clutch was great, really easy and smooth. Now, again, Supermoto, slipper clutch. So when we're backing this bike in, no issues. I'm dropping gears hard, letting out the clutch. The bike's not chattering and hopping. It's nice and smooth. I get a nice smooth drift into the turn. They really thought this thing through. And I just want to mention one other thing as far as the motor goes. One of the things that struck me as being a really cool thing was that Suzuki said, listen, we want to make this Supermoto, we want this thing to be snappy. The challenge is, however, with global emission standards, they're going to have to really, for lack of a better phrase, choke this thing up quite a bit to make sure it passes all those things. And they accomplished that, but what they did was they really sort of started from the ground up to make this motor create more power. It's a dual plug system instead of a single plug. It's got a bigger throttle body. There's a lot of little things Suzuki did, probably not little, big things they did to make this thing have more power so that you're not going to get on it and say, man, the emission stuff is miserable. It's choking this bike up and I have no fun on it. I had a lot of fun on this bike and it's super, super snappy. So you'll read up about all the additional things. The frame is new. The bike is really new from the ground up. But if you are a DR-Z faithful, I don't think they took away anything. They really, in my opinion, with this bike, just took that wide palette of what you can do with a DR-Z and moved the needle for those people that wanted a canyon carver, sort of a street weapon and a track weapon for Supermoto, which is fantastic. I wouldn't need to do anything with this bike to just take it out here, and I went plenty fast enough for me to get my yayas, learn what I'm doing and get better and improve. Really, really happy with the platform. So kudos to Suzuki. I love the damn bike.